Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Steven Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert, that is Steven Jensen, and shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. It is Thursday, June 18th. Plenty to talk about in the world of wrestling and combat sports. We're going to get into some UFC 250, Freedom 250 as well. Jensen, how you doing?
Don't you dare forget that part of it, Jeremy. And in fact, was UFC Freedom 250 at the White House over the weekend. I'm excited to talk about that a little bit for sure. A lot of news going on this week, just like kind of randomly. There wasn't like big WWE topics, I felt like. So of course I went with the default, what's going on with Cody topic for the WWE. But I know I've been kind of keeping up with the TNA departures. That's been interesting to say the least, kind of seeing that kind of trickling, throughout the week, names, coming up and stuff like that. And so, I mean, there's just kind of a lot going on with that, but outside of that, pretty much did the Knicks win the championship?
Yes.
Since the last time we talked? Yeah.
Yeah. They won on Saturday.
Yeah. So, that's right. So this was a really big, like the weekend itself, there was so much going on. Like all these sports, you had the UFC on Sunday, but you had, baseball throughout the day, like MLB, you had College World Series stuff, you had the NBA Finals, you have World Cup, you have there's so much stuff going on in sports right now. But anyway, shout out to Danhausen. I thought it was pretty cool how tied he was to the NBA Finals and with the Knicks and their run and everything. Very cool to see him. I've talked about it before, but I literally was in the basement east in Nashville, Tennessee at a sup show the first time he ever wore face paint as a wrestler. And to see him go from Donovan Danhausen with no direction, trying to figure things out, to one of the most recognizable wrestlers on the planet right now, and probably the most recognizable wrestler in the mainstream sports world right now because of all the publicity he's getting on ESPN and stuff. It's mind-blowing to see, especially after the debut where he comes out of the box and everyone's like, is this gonna work? And look where he's at, so just wanted to give that kind of a shout out to you. It wasn't one of our topics, but obviously I think it's pretty damn cool the position Danhausen's in.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely capitalized on it as well, and the curse is a real thing. I think everyone has to believe in it now. I guess you don't have to, but you should. The Knicks won the championship from it. Yeah,
I want him to do something where he curses the entire NFL except for the Vikings, and then Vikings
pay him human monies for the cameo, and he will probably do that for you.
I feel like they have to incorporate. There's a chance, right? Because they're doing SummerSlam at US Bank Stadium in Minnesota. Maybe they'll be smart enough, Tiffany Stratton or one of those wrestlers. I know Shayna Baszler isn't with the company anymore, but Shayna's a big Vikings fan. Maybe Shayna knows Danhausen from the wrestling world. Maybe she can get in his ear or something. But we need some of these wrestlers from Minnesota that are Vikings fans to get in Danhausen's ear and incorporate that into SummerSlam and uncurse the Vikings. The Vikings are cursed. They've never won the Super Bowl in the history of the franchise. So we need you, Danhausen. If you ever see this, man, you really use your help. Skull Vikings. Human monies or figure something out.
Yeah, again, you got to pay him money. That's the only way it's going to happen, Jensen. That's it.
He also will work for physical media. I know that he's very into things like vintage comics and VHSs and stuff like that. So, we know a lot of the same people in those worlds. Figure something out.
He did not show up to the parade That seemed like a miss on somebody's part that Danhausen was not there. He was in New York the day before because he was doing like Stephen A. Smith's show and everything, but he was not part of the parade. So don't know who did not get him there, but not part of it. All right, you want to get into everything?
Sorry, you froze for just a second.
Oh, did I? No,
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm sure it's on my end.
No, I could hear you.
Okay.
I could hear you, but you were just like slowed down and like catching up to. What?
Okay, is it fine?
I think we're good. I think we're good now.
All right.
I love when that happens. If we can't tell, we're finally caught up. Sorry, I don't know if it was on my end or your end. I could hear everything you said. It's just the video wasn't matching the audio for a second. I had to like catch up. I didn't know when you stopped talking. I didn't want to like talk over you. Okay. Powder Finisher says y'all are both good. Thank you very much. All right. Technical issues now in the past. We can move on. And yeah, I mean that is a giant miss. I don't know why Danhausen wasn't a part of the parade. If he wasn't, that doesn't. I have no idea.
If he was, nobody captured him on video or anything. So, because there's been no evidence that he's been there. So, if he was, they missed it in that they didn't show him at all, regardless. All right. We were talking a little bit off air, but I know we've talked about it a few times throughout the weeks, and I never like set a date or anything. But this past week, I did decide to set a date on everything. I am going to do a 24-hour charity stream. July 16th, which is a Thursday, starting at 5, running July 17th, ending at 5. Proceeds are going to go to NAMI. I've mentioned this on In the Weeds. This banner is going to run all month, so that way it's always going to be promoted on any of these shows that we do. But I've mentioned this. It'll start on the Thursday. We typically do our show Thursday at 6:30. I thought it would just be a nice work-in of you can show up at 6:30 and you can stay as long as you want. You can show up before 6:30. I know you have to work, but you can show up whenever. We'll do some version of our show. It'll be generally our show, but we'll probably be a little bit more sporadic in what we talk about because we're not going to be limited to certainly like any time constraints or anything like that. People might be popping on during our show more regularly than they would typically during our show when we have like guests lined up, because I've already talked to people about trying to come on when they can do it, things like that. I'm working with a couple of companies to get some guests on from there, and they might want to come on at like 7:00, and so obviously we're going to have them on at 7:00. So there won't be like a ton of structure to it because it's a 24-hour stream, and as much as I want to structure things a little bit, I'm also gonna like, all right, whoever wants to come on, whenever you can come on, that would be appreciated because I'm gonna be here the entire time, and it's gonna get, I'm sure, lonely at some various points. But that'll allow us to do that. It'll allow me to do a version of In the Weeds from 10 to 12. Rob and Maggie have coexisting at 3:00 on Fridays, so I know they'll at least be around to join me at 3:00 on Friday for kind of the final stretch there. So yes, that is going to be the charity stream. Again, I'll talk more. I'll talk more about this the entire month, but I've already talked to a couple companies. We're getting things lined up. I've talked to a couple friends. We're trying to get things lined up. The chat has already thrown out ideas of things that they would like me to potentially do. We've discussed an idea of they're gonna like send me like DoorDash me stuff, and I gotta like eat it. I don't know how we're gonna pull this off. I don't want to give out my address to a bunch of people, but I think we can set it up to where it's like almost like Amazon wish list, to where they don't see your address, it just gets sent. I also don't want a DoorDasher coming to my house every 20 minutes. That seems bad. So we're gonna figure all this out. We're gonna continue to figure all this out. But
I like that idea though.
It is a good idea. Yeah, I do like it, and like I'm willing to like eat whatever they send for the most part. Yeah.
Well, Amazon wish list, that's an easy one because Amazon has food. I mean, and most of that stuff would show up same day from Amazon Prime. So like you could do this really easily through Amazon, this idea, if you didn't want to like have to deal with DoorDash or whatever. It just wouldn't be as immediate. Like, you know, you might have to order something on Amazon and it might show up a few hours later instead of like a half hour later or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Amazon wishlist might be the way to go, but we were trying to figure out if there was a DoorDash thing that we could do to where, again, I'm not giving out my address to a bunch of people.
No, you definitely shouldn't do that.
And
terrible idea.
Yeah, but we're trying. It seemed like maybe like people can send like gift cards, and then I have to order it and everything. So we're gonna figure it out. Again, I want the proceeds to go to the charity and not just, hey, you gotta like use your money to like buy me stuff to do things, and then hopefully people will donate off of that. We got a month, a little less than now, but a month to kind of continue to workshop things a little bit. And I'm very open to different ideas because I have to fill 24 hours of content, and that's gonna be it's not like it's super challenging. I mean, it is a little bit, but I'm just very worried about like being on stream for the majority of the 24 hours. I gotta take bathroom breaks, but otherwise, like, I'm gonna be around the entire 24 hours.
Are you gonna sleep on stream if you have no other content? Okay.
No.
Yeah, because that's always creepy. If I ever come onto someone's live stream or see something where like someone's literally sleeping on live stream, I'm just like, this is super parasocial and weird. If anyone's in the chat, like while just watching someone sleep, these people do that. It's very, very strange to me.
Yeah, I'm not sleeping on stream at all. My lovely wife has already said she would be bringing me coffee throughout. She's made me sweet tea that is very good, that is loaded with sugar, because she knows how to make it southern, and
nice.
Unlike all these Ohioans that have no idea what they're doing with their sweet tea. So I'm sure I can get that. Maybe people will send me some energy drinks or something. So yeah, I'm gonna power through the entire 24 hours. Then I will be sleeping for like 48 hours after that. But I'm gonna go through the entire 24 hours. I will not sleep. I will stay awake the entire time.
I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be fun.
Like we have things to do. We have. I was saying you can't have coffee, sweet tea, and energy drinks. I can.
You can.
I can. It might not be good for me, but I can.
Yeah. We gotta like go on eBay and find you like vintage Surge from the 90s to keep you awake.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would get here in time, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen people like, I don't know if you or anyone in the chat are familiar with the LA Beast from YouTube. He's been on YouTube forever, but he's most known for eating obscure things. Like the first thing I think I remember seeing him like go viral for was he like ate a small cactus once on YouTube.
I'm not doing that.
No, I'm not saying you have to eat a cactus, but what he does a lot is he'll eat like expired foods that he liked from the 90s. Like he'll go on eBay and like buy a box of expired cereal or something like that and give it like a full taste test and review, even though it's been expired, for 30 years now. But the point is, there are items out there, like there's Surge and the Dunkaroos and random stuff like vintage from the 90s that people still sell in the box. It's just very expensive for the most part because they're like collector's items. But then there's some psychos out there like the LA Beast who crack those open and actually eat them for our entertainment. So Ecto Cooler. See, I've seen LA Beast do an Ecto Cooler. Louisville saying that was like the old Ghostbusters like high C juice boxes were the Ecto Coolers. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, we can come up with some good ideas.
Yeah, we'll continue to figure things out. It'll be fine, hopefully. I don't want to eat anything that's not actual food or that could make me sick.
No, you don't want to get like botulism from expired food. Yeah. I'm not trying to actually hurt you, but but I mean, there's still random unique items people would be able to find.
Sure.
So yeah, it'll be Anyway, I'll definitely be thinking about stuff. I'll think about if there's anybody that I don't know how many people you've like invited on, but I can reach out and see if there's anybody who wants to jump on, like, that we've interviewed or something.
I mean, it doesn't matter how many people I invite. Please invite as many as you can think of to come on during this, because again, I want as many people as possible. So I would like to not be alone for the majority of the stream. Obviously, I know,
that'd be good.
Obviously, I know, like, from like 2 to like 5 in the morning, I don't expect there to be too many people like up and who are gonna jump on or anything. But I've talked to people in like the UK and stuff who might be able to pop on during those hours. But
West Coast, I don't know, out like in California, or anywhere out there.
Yeah, West Coast for sure. I've talked to people, but I also know like they might not be able to make it happen, which is completely fair. So, but I would like to have a steady flow of guests, and if it means multiple people on screen at once, that would be fantastic. We shall see how
we can create some accidental forbidden door situations, having like
possibly
people from different companies cross paths on screen completely randomly in random interviews, kind of like when we had Kyle Peterson and Cole Radrick on at the same time from different universes. That was fun, the random crossover we got there. By the way, Cole, if you're watching this, I'm still waiting on those parachute pants. But
do you want to? I'm gonna see him next Saturday.
Ooh, maybe he was planning on giving them. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is.
It's not like I see you. It just puts the shipping onto me.
Well, I mean, I'll pay for the shipping. Like, I've already told Cole that I'll pay for the shipping. Like, I'm not expecting anybody to cover the shipping.
That puts the onus on me to like ship.
Oh, to ship it? No. Well, no. It wouldn't make sense for you to do that. I was just thinking, like, I messaged him after we talked last, and he didn't follow up as far as like telling me what he was planning on doing, but I wanted to make it clear, like, let me know, because I'm going to cover the ship. I do not want this to cost anyone anything, like, except for myself. I even offered money to buy them if you didn't want to do it for free. I was like, if you're just joking about that, I'd still want to buy them for my collection. Like, they'd be sick. So, anyways, when you're gonna see Cole? When's that show?
Next Saturday.
Okay. Well, remind him for me, please. I don't want to bug him about it.
I'll bug him. I don't care. I'll be like, Jensen says you're an asshole and you haven't sent him in the parachute pants yet.
Tell him I cleared out a whole section of my collection space to display these used parachute pants. I'm not even joking. Bring more memorabilia is sick, dude. I'm a big fan of that, especially for friends of ours like Cole. Like, that's, I'm very happy about that. Right, anyways, let's talk about wrestling.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Cody Rhodes is going to retain the title tomorrow. Go ahead, Jensen.
This is going to be our shortest topic by far, probably. I mean, it's just like way too obvious if Sami Zayn were a like full on turn. Or I mean, he's already turned, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't just seem like too obvious. Like the odds are stacked against Cody, but at the same time, like if you're going to take the title off of Cody and put it on to Gunther, having the odds stacked, protects Cody. So I would see both sides of that. Obviously, I would strongly prefer Cody to retain the championship and head into what's the next actual, because we have SummerSlam in
Night of
August.
Champions is next week.
It's Night of Champions, but their match is on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Have they said anything about what they're going to do at Night of Champions? Or are they going to do the champion versus champion thing?
No, that's Crown Jewel.
Crown Jewel. I'm getting that confused with Night of Champions. Because I do want to, I think it'd be not, how do I put this? If they're going to do Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns anytime in the foreseeable future, it would make the most sense to do it on that show instead of like in my opinion, wasting another WrestleMania main event or something doing that same match again. So that's kind of where my head is at, is when Crown Jewel comes around, who are the champions going to be? And I think it's going to be, I think Cody and Roman, I think that's a match they want to do again. And it makes sense to do it in that circumstance. Like I said, while not also having to waste like a WrestleMania main event and like a whole WrestleMania build on a match we've already seen at WrestleMania twice.
I don't think they want to do that match anywhere but WrestleMania.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, when we get to the night of Crown Jewel, you think it's? Well, I guess we gotta work backwards a little bit too, because King of the Ring is happening, and they're gonna have. There's implications there too on who the champions are going to be.
I don't think Cody and Roman will be champions going into Crown Jewel. Maybe one of them will be. I don't think both of them will be. Now, they both might get the titles back after Crown Jewel. They might both be champions going into WrestleMania, and maybe they do some unification match or something. I don't know, but I don't think they're going to do Cody and Roman at Crown Jewel. I think if that match happens, it is 100% a WrestleMania match. They're not wasting that on some Crown Jewel match, especially if that's a Saudi show, middle of the day for that. No, they're not. Well, I guess WrestleMania is in Saudi this year anyway, so it's going to be middle of the day. I still don't see it anywhere but WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't know. It just got me thinking, Well, let's back up a little bit. I mean, I'm going to choose Cody to retain because I always do. But do you realistically think that Cody's going to retain, or do you think it makes this is just the perfect setup for them? Like, the odds are stacked against Cody. Cody's already beaten Gunther. Do they just have Gunther finally just beat Cody for the championship and do Gunther and Lesnar like everyone's kind of expecting?
I mean, I think Gunther should win, but I thought Gunther should won at the last pay-per-view, and Cody just won. I'm just going to assume Cody wins until he loses. At this point, I'm fully in on the LOL Cody wins. So I could see a scenario where Sami screws up, and I don't want to say it's like a DQ, but there's more shenanigans, and they do like a triple threat match at Night of Champions with Cody, Gunther, and Sami, and that's how they take the title off of Cody, because Gunther pins Sami or something, or he just loses in the triple threat match, and so he's protected. And oh, well, I lost in a triple threat match, not one-on-one against you. I could see that playing out. I'm just going to assume Cody wins, though.
Okay. Well, that's actually the best way you could possibly... I'm glad you're finally coming around, Jeremy. Expect Cody to win until he loses. That's exactly how I break down my Cody predictions. Yeah. That's great. You just never choose against Cody, and he never loses. It's the best. This ties in, because I was thinking about this also. We haven't talked really about King of the Ring much on the show up to this point. Where do you think they're going with all this? Do you think that, to me, I'll just say, there's two things that I really don't want Jey Uso to win, because that's I really don't need to see another Jey Uso Roman Reigns. Well, he won't.
I don't think it's going to be Jey and Roman, though, if Jey wins.
Who would it be?
Cody.
Oh, you think he would challenge Cody?
Yeah. And I think there's a very real scenario. I don't think it's likely, but I think there is a very real scenario if Roman really decides to power play things, that SummerSlam ends with Cody or with Roman and Jey Uso holding up their world championships together.
No. Okay, no way. So, what I was also thinking, which is more the obvious, is Obafemi just straight up wins, and Obafemi challenges Roman Reigns and beats Roman Reigns. Just actually go all the way with the guy. Which I think would be a badass match.
I don't know if he's going to challenge Roman either.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, but he could.
He
I know a lot of people
Cody and beat Cody.
He could, but I mean, he wouldn't be able to beat Cody. That's the problem, right? If you want Obafemi to actually become the champion, you would want him going against anyone but Cody. But when it comes to, when it comes to Obafemi and the King of the Ring, I know a lot of people kind of expect Brock to like get involved and cost him at some point during this, or at least they've been saying that, up until this point. And part of me when it comes to that is like, that doesn't even really make, well, I'll say this, none of the Brock Lesnar or Obafemi booking makes sense at all. It's all been completely backwards. Like, if they were going to go the route that they've gone, Brock should have won at WrestleMania. Oba should have won the rematch. And then you would have Oba winning the King of the Ring, and then Oba winning the championship. And then if you wanted to have a rubber match with him and Brock at some point, it makes sense for Brock to come back because he lost the last match and say, okay, I beat you, you beat me, you have the championship, let's go. But instead they did it all in reverse order, which makes no booking sense. So they've put themselves into this weird spot with Obafemi where he's coming off the loss to Brock, now going into the King of the Ring. And if he wins King of the Ring, it's still in the back of our minds that he lost to Brock. And like, where's Brock? What does he have to do with this? But also, why would Brock even really care about costing Obafemi at this point? Because he did just beat him. Like he won the last one. Like, why would he go after him again? So it all just doesn't really make sense. And that's all to say that I do like the idea of Obafemi versus Roman Reigns, because it's a match we haven't had. Two big dudes, athletic, I want to see what they can do out there. I think it'd be an interesting matchup, especially if Obafemi won the title. That'd be a big moment for him. But do you think any of that is even like possible, or do you actually think that Jey Uso in the finals, or does he have one more?
Yeah, he's facing Javon in the semifinals.
That's right, Javon. Yeah, and LA Knight's out, and everybody's like,
they don't care.
That's a whole other. Well, the company doesn't, but I was the biggest LA Knight hater, a couple years ago, and I still think it's funny with like the botches, right? Just like anybody else, I think it's funny. I mean, I literally the same week here on this show, people remember this. I was talking about how I hate the blunt force trauma finish and how he should just switch his finish to that double jump elbow he does from like the middle to the top rope elbow drop. And literally the next show he was on, he slipped doing it. And I was like, and that was the one where like Randy Orton was laughing, like waiting for him to jump on him. Anyways, so I think, the reason I'm saying all this, by the way, is because I was the biggest hater and I have reason to continue to hate, but I do like what he's been saying in these interviews he's been doing, like the Chris Van Vliet interview. And, I like that he's stuck with it, and he looks the part and he sounds the part. Like he's an over the top, 80s, 90s kind of throwback guy. I mean, it was one of those things where even me, I'm getting to the point of almost feeling bad for the dude, where I'm like, you really, even though he's not perfect, like I think you should be doing more with this guy. Probably he is definitely more entertaining than most of the roster. Like, I got to give him his credit. So, I saw him and Roman recently. Like he was talking about Roman and the bloodline and stuff. And part of me is like, cool, that's good for him to be involved in something like that. But the other part of me is like, he's going to lose to anybody who matters though in these feuds, which is kind of disappointing. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there too. That even me at this point, I feel like LA Knight's kind of getting screwed. So
yeah, they don't care about him. He's a guy that they just beat.
Yeah,
that's all.
True. But the Max Dupree thing was so funny because I remember when he quit that gimmick, he literally just like. It was Mansoor and
Mason
Madden. Yeah, and he like knocked him over backstage or something and took his belt off. And he just like, yeah, this was never for me. And just like left his belt there, and I was like, that's the most abrupt. Just like, I like that he actually got repackaged as something different after that, and it's worked out for him to the degree that it has. But it's just so interesting how completely off they were with that original character, even to the point where he said on television, like, this isn't for me. Like, this doesn't work. But anyways, official prediction for King of the Ring. Who you got?
I hope it'll be Oba. I think Oba would be the smart choice. I'm gonna go with Jey Uso because I don't think this company is all that smart sometimes. So
Yeah. I'm gonna go Oba. Like I'm just gonna stick with Oba and just hope that they do Oba versus Roman, just because I'm actually interested in that.
Roman.
But I think it's lame that Oba just lost to Brock. Like it's lame that they're doing it in this order.
Yeah.
But
I think Brock will get involved somewhere. So my kind of idea, besides the Jey Uso wins and Roman and Jey hold the title up at the end of SummerSlam, which I still think is a real possibility. I'm not saying it's likely. I think it's a real possibility, though. I think you could have Oba and Jey in the finals. Brock attacks Oba on, it's Brock. They got a feud going, but it's also by orders of Heyman, and Heyman realigns with the Bloodline, and Roman gets his wise man back. And we just run back Bloodline lore all over again with Heyman, Roman, the Usos, Jacob as Solo, and we trudge forward.
Well, Jacob and Solo, you're saying? Because
no, Jacob as
why? But I'm saying they're involved again. I know I was talking about that the other week, but they're actually involved.
They are.
Now.
I just don't think Solo's part of the group. He's doing his own thing. I'm not putting him back in the group. I'm saying Jacob is the new Solo. You
know what you do? You do the group you just talked about, but you also do include Solo, Tala, and Tonga. I'm getting them all. Tama and Tala and Solo. Those are the three that are left, right?
Yeah.
You do have them in the Bloodline, but you make sure to make the distinction that they're a Bloodline B team, and you give them different colored shirt. That might work. I mean, Bryan Adams has a figure on the pegs right now. WCW, NWOB team, Bryan Adams figure, 2026. I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah. But I hate that idea, though. If they go that direction, that's really I know a lot of people already disenfranchised in a lot of ways with the WWE and their booking, but that's almost admitting you can't come up with anything. If you're going back to that after Roman already had the title for 1,300 days or whatever it was straight, and you already did this entire story, and now you're just rewinding the VHS and starting it again, you're just that out of ideas. And then you hear about these rumors about them using more AI and stuff, and it's you might have to if all you can come up with, huh?
I said rumors.
Well, are there not? I mean, have they admitted to it?
Ari Emanuel came out and said they're using it. Now how much they're using it, I don't know as far as booking stuff, but they're using it in videos and everything. They're
true.
Using it.
Yeah, I remember, wasn't it it was that AAA video package a while back, had the AEW title edited into it on accident. Yeah, no, you're right. I guess more so for storyline purposes. Have they publicly admitted that they're using AI to come up with storylines? Because that's more of what I'm talking about.
Right. They're probably never going to admit to that. It's not like Triple H does interviews anymore anyway, so they're probably never going to admit to that.
Right. So then, my point is, if your ideas are run back the Bloodline because you can't come up with anything else, you're probably going to need to start using AI to come up with storylines because you're out of ideas. And if that happens, then I think the entire bit, I can't say it's in trouble, but it's going to go in a different direction, in a lot of ways, I think. Obviously they're going to still go with whatever they want to go with on. I don't think they're going to just blindly put prompts into AI software and just use whatever pops out. But there's an art to wrestling that, it's someone like Dusty Rhodes would be rolling over in his grave hearing that they're using AI to book wrestling shows. You know what I mean? Like there's like this art and history to it that I feel like really shouldn't be replaced by AI. I know everything's being replaced by AI nowadays, it seems like, and that's a whole other conversation, unfortunately. But anyways, my whole point is, like, if you go back to that, if what you described happens and they just go back to basically the original bloodline again, and we're back to square one on that, I mean, I'm already not really watching the shows. So, like, I have even less reason to, you know, like, why? Who wants to see that again?
Yeah. No, I'm with you, but...
And you're a big Roman fan. Do you want to see it?
For the hilarity of it, yes, I do. Because I just think it's funny. Do I think it would be good? No, not really. But I'm past the point, and I mean, I've been past the point of, like, connecting to a lot of this stuff in that way. Like, I root for the chaos of things, and the bloodline just doing the same bloodline stuff that they've been doing for 5 years now, 6 years now, and just running all that back. That's funny to me. So I'm all for the chaos of that. This is why I've come around, honestly, on just like, LOL, Cody wins. It's like, all right, would the smart decision be do something with, like, put the title on Orton, put the title on Gunther, put the title on Kevin Owens? Yeah, this would all be more appealing to me. But they're not going to do any of this. So, sure, Cody continues to win, and let's just go with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a smart move. He's your guy, you know? And I got no sympathy for anybody who, I mean, if you're going to be like, LOL Cody, all snarky or whatever, like, we lived through Cena, okay? And no one's up here nowadays trash talking John. I mean, there's something to critique about, like, the retirement run and the heel turn and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. But, like, he's looked at as the GOAT of the WWE. He's celebrated like the GOAT of the WWE. People aren't retroactively going back. I think people have a much deeper appreciation of John Cena in his career right now than they did when we were living through it, you know, in the early 2000s when he was beating all of our guys that we grew up watching. I was pissed off about it too at the time. I was a big John Cena hater, but I feel like a similar thing is kind of what happening to Cody in that respect, you know, and you expect it to happen. When Cody became the WWE champion at WrestleMania 40, I knew eventually that would happen to a degree, but it also, like, it is and it isn't. Like, it's happening amongst, you know, certain groups of fans and, like, smart marks and that kind of stuff or whatever. But listen to the crowds when they do these PLEs. I mean, everybody's singing the song, the entrance, the pyro. He's still getting big pops. His matches are great. He's killing it. And he's still in his prime, in my opinion. Like, I know he's 40 years old, and you never know when, you know, you could fall off of a cliff, you know, physically or performance-wise or whatever, but Cody's as good right now as he's ever been in his career, and he's 40 years old. Like, I think he's still got a lot of juice left if he wants to keep going, and the company knows that, and he's their guy. So it's not surprising to me at all that he keeps winning and retaining the championship, because he's the face of their multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah. All right.
And he's awesome at his job. Like, he's a great pro wrestler, but he also does all the off the field stuff that we don't even have to get into. But the same as Cena, Cody's making all these media appearances. Cody's doing all the Make-A-Wishes. Cody's spending a lot of the time that he could be spending raising his own family. Because that's another thing people don't talk about Cena. And I don't need to get into people's personal lives. I don't judge people like that at all. But I know that Cena, him being in the role he was in, it cost him his marriage, his first marriage and stuff. Like, he was very, like, he had to be a robot and just be the WWE guy. Cody is doing this while also having a wife and young kids and raising them and trying to balance this, but he's still doing all the same stuff Cena was doing back then. So it's just, people need to keep that in mind. Like, I think, you know, he's like the ideal face of a company. So it makes sense that they have him as their champion.
Golf clap for Cody.
And there's the Cody Glaze of the week. So thank you.
Let's move on to AEW.
I'm old and I'm fucking tired and I work with fucking children. I'm tired of wrestling these kids that think they know everything.
That was a complete misclick. Punk had nothing to do with any of this. I saw the AEW Spotlight logo and did not check. One is titled AEW Spotlight, which is the usual one, and the other one is titled AEW Punk. And I was not paying attention to the title, just the logo. So
it's such a good bumper, though, and it kind of ties in. I mean, there's all these rumors about where's CM Punk. Is CM Punk coming back to AEW? Obviously, I don't. No, I know. I'm just trolling. I think he's just getting time off. He's been working hard the last few years. I think him and Cody is obviously a big match that they're going to do at some point in the either SummerSlam or WrestleMania or something like that. Like I don't think for a second Punk's leaving. The only reservations I would have had is if they came to him about some sort of pay cut when they were trying to pay cut all the talent, because obviously he's not the kind of guy. I don't think that's gonna. I think that they already know not to do that. You know what I mean when it comes to CM Punk. So that was the only rumor that I saw that I would have said would have maybe been realistic at all, is if Punk had some sort of money issues with them, but I don't buy into that. I'm just saying I saw all these different rumors out there. That was the only one that I saw that I was like, maybe, but I don't think that really at all. I think he's just taking some time off. So that just reminded me to put that out there because you ran the bumper. But yeah, CM Punk is definitely coming back to the WWE, and it sounds like probably on SmackDown, which makes sense. So
yeah. My bad. I mean, it's a hilarious bumper though. We have the teams for Forbidden Door. Team MJF is, I'm going to try to do this off memory. My memory's awful, but let's see if I can do this. Andrade, Kyle Fletcher, Kazuchika Okada, Kevin Knight, and Jake Doyle. MJF makes 6. I easily got this. Team Briscoe is Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, Konosuke Takeshita. So that is the 6-on-6 match, steel cage. If Team Briscoe wins, Mark gets a title shot. What do you make of these teams?
These are some great teams. I liked the match last night, which was like our preview of this. One thing that I'll point out, it was obvious, they obviously meant to do this on TV, but it was more of kind of like a background thing. But when Trent Beretta came up thinking he was going to be on the team,
that was hilarious.
And they didn't choose him when everyone else was gone. He was still standing in the background, kind of pacing around, which makes me think maybe he'll turn babyface and join the conglomeration, which would make sense. I've always liked Trent a lot. I've always been a big fan of his. The biggest, I think the biggest reason he hasn't been a bigger deal in wrestling is just because of injuries. He's been hurt so much throughout his career and had to take off so much time. But I've always found him to be being entertaining. I actually liked him when he was in the Dude Busters, that tag team in the WWE years ago. I mean, anyways, I picked up on that because I was like, maybe they'll do something with Trent, because you look at this group of guys that were all standing there, and Mark Davis wasn't even there. He's still out with that injury, right? From like a few weeks
Mark Davis
ago.
is back.
But he wasn't with the group last night. Where was he last night?
I have no idea why he wasn't there last night, but he's fine. I think he's gonna defend the national title at Forbidden Door, and so maybe that's why he wasn't like in the lineup with the group. But he's healthy.
For some reason, I thought he got like a small injury or something recently. I must be confusing him with someone. It confused me because he wasn't with the group last night, and like everyone else was.
Right.
And not that they wouldn't have used Jake Doyle. I've always been a big Jake something guy, but when he was announced for that team, I was kind of like, why isn't Davis the guy? But also, it makes sense though, him being the national champion. They had maybe a different plan for him defending the championship. So that all makes sense. So scratch that. Mark Davis. It's good to know that. I thought the match itself. Oh, sorry. I hope they do something with Trent. I will say so. Yeah, do something with him. There's so many damn people in that group. I was looking at them all standing there, and I was like, completely forgot about El Clone. Like completely. He's standing there, I think Rocky Romero was still standing there. You see him pop up every now and then. Lance Archer was like way in the back. Brian Cage was wearing like a giant medal around his neck.
Yeah, he won like Mr. Vegas at the international like bodybuilding competition thing. So that's what that medal was.
I completely believe that. So,
Yeah,
congratulations
it's
to him.
True. So I hope you believe it.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, he looks like the kind of guy who would win a competition like that.
Right.
Like, I actually believe, like, there's a lot of wrestlers that, maybe would, use something with their gimmick that maybe they didn't actually earn,
Yeah.
I believe that he earned that trophy or that medal for sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, the match last night I thought was good. I thought it was a good appetizer. The obvious booking would be Briscoe's team winning, especially because MJF's team won last night. And then Briscoe, of course, gets the championship match against MJF if his team wins in the steel cage. But there's a part of me that's like, maybe not. Like, maybe MJF's team just wins. Maybe like they're just, if they want to go back to Mark Briscoe at some point, they do it a different way where he's got to like earn it a different way or something. I don't know. And by the way, I'm not against Mark Briscoe getting a world title match, especially given his history with MJF in AEW. It makes a lot of sense. They have history. MJF has lost to him before, and it wasn't that long ago. So, I'm not against the idea of Briscoe's team winning, but I almost feel like it's too obvious after, MJF's team wins last night. It just seems like such a foregone conclusion with that stipulation that Briscoe's team would win. Maybe MJF's team just wins again in the steel cage. I'm kind of leaning towards that, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think Briscoe's team's going to win. It seems like it's going to set up for Mark to get the title shot. Feels like it's a dynamite match, Mark and MJF. MJF is going to owe a title shot to Kevin Knight coming out of this as well. Kenny's probably going to get the title shot at Redemption, and that's when MJF loses the title, at least most likely. I wouldn't be like fully shocked if Mark's team loses, but I think they want to do that rematch since Mark beat him the last time in the tables and tax match. MJF effectively gets his win back here, and then you move on from the whole thing. I don't have like a ton of excitement for MJF and Mark Briscoe. Like during the match last night, I was like, oh, this interaction's more exciting. Oh, this interaction's more exciting. And Briscoe and MJF was kind of like lower on that list.
That's fair. Especially last night, there were some good matches on Dynamite. I almost made the spotlight the Mercedes match, though that was really good. It was one of the better women's matches I've seen in a while.
She's incredible, and Izuki's so good as well.
Yeah, that was a really good match, and it was pretty long too. Like it was like a pay-per-view level match.
All the matches got time last night, except for Kenny and Tony Nese, but every other match was over like 18 minutes because the main event got about 20 something minutes. Maybe that was about 22 minutes, and then Mercedes and Izuki was about 22 minutes as well.
Yeah, you're right. Also, it just reminded me. I saw in the chat. My screen just went blank because of my stupid computer. There we go. Alexa Bliss Gamer in the chat. It just reminded me we're talking about women's wrestling over on AEW. He asked who he thought are going to win Queen of the Ring. Because we were talking about King of the Ring because I was tied in with kind of Cody.
Who's in the Queen of the Ring?
Yeah. No,
okay.
I was gonna say I'm going with Io, but it's down to Charlotte and Liv, right? That's who would be in the finals against Io.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Io either way, but I was thinking about who her opponent's gonna be, but it ultimately doesn't matter because I'm taking Io.
Okay.
And I think her versus Rhea because of their history.
I see. I don't know if Rhea's now got this like knee injury that I assume she'll be good for SummerSlam. That's still 2 months away, but I don't know how that's going to shuffle things around there. I mean, Io and Rhea at SummerSlam makes a lot of sense. It does. That's probably my call as well. But I could also see Io winning and then just challenging Liv because it's like, well, I beat you in the Queen of the Ring finals. Why don't I just beat you at SummerSlam? Because I think Liv beats Charlotte. I think Liv goes to the finals. So I could see that scenario playing out as well. But I'm with you on Io winning the Queen of the Ring.
Yeah. See, I was ready for that one. I do a little bit of I mean, I follow along. I'm just not sitting there every Monday, every Friday watching from start to finish. But I'm, I know we have a show to do, so I'm in the loop of what's going on for the most part.
All right. I'm just checking.
Bro, I'm looking forward to Danhausen's Frankenstein monster. I'm waiting to see the return of Baron Corbin over here. Like, when's that finally happening? It's nothing to do with AEW. We're already on AEW. I'm just trying to prove to you that I'm familiar with the product, Jeremy. Okay.
Anything else from AEW? I realized I was kind of short, but was there anything else?
Yeah, I mean,
do you like the teams? Like, it's Forbidden Door, and there's no New Japan talent or CMLL talent. It's an AEW match.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's on brand enough for the pay-per-view. So I know what you're saying. I like the teams though. I mean, like, I think I'm a fan of all the people in the match. And it makes sense that MJF would recruit Don Callis family members, especially with Kevin Knight also getting a title shot, and Mark's already in the conglomeration, so it makes sense those guys, and then Takeshita being along with them as well. Roderick Strong was really good last night. I mean, he always has, but he's one of those guys that I feel like people he gets overlooked, I think, a lot often because of like the different groups he's been a part of and stuff. There was always like an Adam Cole or somebody, right, that just kind of like outshined him in a lot of situations. But last night in the match, like when he's on fire and he's hitting his stuff and he's like kind of in like his flow state, just like I've always liked watching Roderick Strong. I'm always glazing Kyle O'Reilly. He's one of my favorite wrestlers ever. So I'm just glad he's doing anything on AEW television. And I think he'll be great in the cage match. He'll bring some good violence. But yeah, I mean, the match itself I think is great. But as far as like the other stuff with AEW, Swerve and Ospreay, that comes to mind. Their face off yesterday. Last night. Yeah. I mean, I'm still going with Ospreay. I mean, I think it's just way too obvious. Ospreay. I mean, they're even saying it on AEW television. They're literally on the microphone talking about, everyone knows the big thing everyone wants to see is Ospreay win the championship at Wembley. So. But just because it's predictable doesn't mean don't do it. I feel like we've talked about it before. It would almost be false advertising at this point. If you were buying tickets, especially if you live there, you're like the home crowd. You want to see your boy Will Ospreay win the championship. You buy tickets, but other people travel in to see Ospreay win and buy tickets and all this stuff. And so Ospreay's got to at least be in the championship match at the absolute least on that show, or else I feel like it's wolf tickets, as Nick Diaz would say. But when, who's his opponent going to be? That's a bigger question. I know you're big on Kenny Omega being the champion going in. I think that's very, very possible. Like I give it a higher percentage this week than I did last week even. I think it's even more likely now. But that all said, they did a pretty good job last night of making it, I don't have any doubt in my mind that Ospreay isn't going to beat Swerve. Like I fully expect Ospreay to win the Owen and challenge at Wembley, but they did about the best job they could have last night with Swerve as far as like, the reasons why he needs this win and stuff, and the history between the two of them, and Ospreay having Swerve's back, but Swerve not having Ospreay's back when he needed it and all this stuff. So it was I thought the promo between the two was very good, and we all know the match is going to be awesome. So, I'm looking forward to it. And just because the predictable outcome is Ospreay winning does not mean that they should veer away from doing that. I think they need to just they need to do it. So, and then you have the element of the Death Riders also, where Swerve was going to attack Ospreay. Well, Ospreay punched Swerve first, but Swerve was going to retaliate with the chain that Prince Nana gave him. But then the Death Riders came out. Ospreay didn't want the help from the Death Riders, it seemed like. And that also might be planting the seeds a little bit, because we both have said that before Ospreay wins the championship at Wembley, he might need to beat Jon Moxley as like his final boss before winning the championship. Unless they save that for after he wins the title and Mox is like, we helped you win the title, now I want a title shot or something like that. But anyways, I feel like the seeds have kind of been planted already too for like, does Ospreay totally trust the Death Riders or not really, We knew going into the storyline it would be some sort of, is he really with them? Is he not? But as of now, it seems like he is really he's in the group, like he's with them. They've got his back. But does he like how they're handling this? That's where I feel like it's kind of headed.
I think we're going to end up with Moxley and Ospreay at Redemption. It might be a kind of a thing of like respect of Ospreay's like, I got to beat you to prove that I'm ready for Wembley. And Mox is like, yeah, this is your final test type of thing. I don't think it's going to be like some big grudge of like Moxley's like, I taught you everything you know. I want your title shot. I mean, maybe Ospreay puts it on the line himself. Like, if I can't beat you, you deserve my title shot. But I don't think it's going to be like Moxley kind of wanting to take it from him. I think it's going to be more of Ospreay wanting to like prove himself in that manner.
Yeah, and I've thrown that idea out there in the past as well about like the kind of the parallels between what's happening right now with Ospreay, assuming he wins the Owen. He would have the guaranteed title shot. We saw Darby Allin have a guaranteed title shot that Jon Moxley won from him and then used to defeat and retire Bryan Danielson. And you can easily tie those stories together here. And Ospreay, whether it's Moxley being a heel and wanting the shot, or, which I like better, in your scenario, I do like better, where Ospreay puts it up on the line and says, basically what you just said. If I can't beat you, I don't deserve a title shot. If you beat me, you get my title shot, So, especially because all this kind of started with, the attack technically, but even before that, Ospreay. Well, I guess there was the attack, and then Ospreay came back, and then Ospreay lost to Moxley when everyone kind of expected him to win. So for him to beat Moxley before winning the championship, storyline-wise, I think just makes all the sense in the world. So
yeah. Anything else from Odilo Diggs saying, not sidetracked, but they're doing the 12-person tag deal because they have no story for Blood and Guts. I don't know when Blood and Guts is this year. It's typically kind of around this time, but they did it last year, and then they did it last year later. Right, because they did the cage match at Forbidden Door last year, and they still did Blood and Guts. So I don't think it has anything.
It was in November. I just looked it up. It was in November.
Okay.
This past
yeah, so I don't think it really has anything to do with Blood and Guts. I think they'll just do Blood and Guts later in the year, like they did last year. I don't think it has anything to do with that. No. Anything else from AEW?
I'm trying to think of just for what it's worth, I don't think we've seen the Ops unless I've missed them on Collision since.
Yeah, they were on Collision.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, Anthony Bowens was like, I'm the leader, and Hook was like, you're not the leader, and that was about it.
Yeah, that
group's dead in the water without Joe. We all knew it. We all saw it when Joe was out the first time. It's more of the same.
Well, and how could Bowens think he's the leader in storyline? at all.
I think he's just being a delusional heel. I think he's just trying to like get stuff over. I'm not putting a ton of stock into anything they're doing with the ops. I'm just like, all right, cool. They gave him 30 seconds. Maybe they'll wrestle at some point, but it's dead in the water without Joe.
Yeah, 100%. And is he filming? Is it another Twisted Metal season?
Yeah.
Good for him. Yeah. My brother loves that show.
I heard it's very good.
Yeah, I know I have some buddies who watch it, played the PlayStation game when we were growing up and watched the show, and they don't watch wrestling, but they love, like, I apparently Joe's character, Sweet Tooth or whatever his name is like a super messed up character, like his like backstory and stuff. He's like it's a very twisted, very dark character, but apparently Joe is like great at playing his character. So good for him. It's cool that he's made it outside of wrestling. And I also don't know exactly how it works, but I know guys like Roddy Piper and Jesse Ventura would always talk about how they have their SAG cards because of doing acting. So like they're covered with like insurance and stuff in ways that like all of the wrestlers aren't, because they have the acting experience too. So I don't know how that works, but maybe there's some benefits Joe's getting out of that too. Being able to be kind of like he's a successful actor now. I mean, that's a show that like they brought it back for a second season for a reason. So good for him.
We're on a third season now. So.
Oh, third season now. Yeah. I didn't even know. That's even better.
Yeah.
So good for him. It sucks for us because I'm a big Samoa Joe fan. I wish he was wrestling in AEW. And I love Shibata, and he's dead in the water without Joe, so that sucks. But anyway, that's all I can really think of AEW wise. Well, I want to see more, busting the brain on AEW TV. I know that they've mainly been doing stuff in Ring of Honor, but shout out to them, obviously. Like, I hope that I'd like to see them on Dynamite on like a regular basis. That'd be sick. Or Collision.
We're going to go to the Indies because the Indies kind of tie into AEW.
I'm going to give a big motherfucking shout out.
So we've been talking about what MyAEW is going to look like as far as like independent promotions and everything. We mentioned 1FW was on the list, and I don't remember if we talked about Produce joining as well, but over the past week we've had more announcements. Limitless, 1FW, C4 out of Canada, Produce, Warrior Wrestling, Create a Pro, and Wrestle Pro are all going to be on MyAEW, and fans can order Fantastica Mania, CMLL New Japan Fantastica Mania. That airs tomorrow. You can order that through MyAEW now as well. So it is becoming a legitimate streaming platform, not just a hey, here's some AEW stuff. We're going to get some indies. We'll see kind of what kind of indies we get. And I thought 1FW was good because it's tied with QT, and I don't know how much like television stuff they want to do, but now they can do a little bit more like airings and like footage being available. They're getting legitimate companies that run kind of weekly events and at least bi-weekly events, and already had streaming deals with platforms like Triller. JCW was on YouTube and Triller for a while. JCW is kind of the spinoff of Produce, although they still run stuff. Warrior, I think, was on Triller. Create a Pro and Wrestle Pro were either on Triller or IWTV. I think Limitless was on IWTV. So C4 was on IWTV as well, I believe. So now all these companies are just moving over to MyAEW. So it's a legit streaming service right now.
Yeah, it's sick. And Louisville says Triller replacement. I talked about this weeks ago when we talked about the platform, and I remember I was much bigger on the idea of thinking what is currently happening was going to happen. You were more on like I don't know if they're gonna really bring these other companies on, and I was thinking of it. It wasn't surprising to me to see all these companies join, especially because when we talked about that, I did tie in the Triller aspect because and this isn't exclusive to Triller because, like you said, some of these companies also ran on IWTV and other platforms. Some maybe on high spots and stuff. Like there's, and these companies also, to be fair, they shop around like free agents do. Like they've changed streaming platforms and jumped from IWTV to Triller to YouTube and stuff like that. Not all of them stay stagnant on one platform forever. So that there's nothing new about that concept in independent wrestling streaming. But what is new is the kind of like disruptor, if you will, of MyAEW. Because also, unless they've changed something, it's a free app. Every time I've used it, I haven't had to pay any kind of money or anything. I don't know if they're going to be charging like a monthly fee or if that's starting to happen, adding all these independent companies. But
I mean, I'm pretty sure it costs. You might be like being able to access the free stuff, but there's way more you can access if you're paying.
Well, how much is the monthly subscription? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure it's like $9.99.
Well, if that's the case, because I've just been using the free app and watching like they have like a
24/7 channel.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
I've just been using it for that for the most part. And 1FW, I've watched 1FW on there without paying.
Okay, I mean maybe that's part of like a free tier type of thing.
But,
like I know there is like a free tier, but there's also a whole different part you can access that you can pay for.
So, that said, around $10 a month, totally worth it if you're getting a bunch of, libraries and live shows to support the independent wrestling companies. So I think that's a totally fair price. IWTV is $10. I'm grandfathered into Triller, but I think the current rate is probably about $10 as well. So that's on about $10 would be about on par with what these other streaming services charge outside of companies that just, upload or air for free on platforms like YouTube. But I think it's a smart move. It's another, especially if people are having, I can't speak to any of this stuff, but if there are companies who have had issues with Triller for whatever reason, or IWTV or any other platform, they have another option. And that option is directly tied to AEW, which could be a very big benefit. A lot of AEW's talent comes from a lot of these companies. So if they have access to the back catalog of some of these companies too, so like when someone debuts on AEW you might not be familiar with, or Ring of Honor or whatever, but you can go into the C4 catalog and see their last 5 years of work or whatever. It just there are definite benefits to that, and I understand why companies would want to get involved and have more of like a streamline into AEW. WWE has their ID system and the stuff that they do to funnel in talent. I'm not saying that every company that signs with MyAEW, like their talent is just going to be automatically filtered to AEW, but AEW is going to. Tony Khan's a numbers guy. He's going to have tabs on what people are watching, what people like, what wrestlers people like, what wrestlers enjoy, following and stuff. And Tony will use stuff like this to scout. I guarantee it. He'll be paying attention to some of these shows he's putting on his platform, and maybe start keeping an eye out for some talent that he might bring on to Ring of Honor or bring in AEW, or when you go into these other markets, like when they were in, I guess it was Memphis. Was it right? I know Tim Bosby popped up and wrestled on Collision recently.
Yeah.
And it's like, y'all know we love Tim Bosby. We've interviewed him multiple times. But, like, the fact that Tim Bosby is on Tony Khan's radar at all, Tim Bosby's been wrestling for, like, a couple years. He's been really successful, especially in the Southeast and in, like, Memphis, Atlanta area. Action wrestling, former action wrestling world champion. He's had a lot of success really quickly, but Tony Khan, has co-promoted with Action Wrestling for Dean and stuff like that, and that's how this is all connected. So I think it just makes all the sense in the world that if Tony's able to platform independent wrestling, he's going to do it if he's able to. And also don't forget, everyone, that Tony comes from the message board world. Like, he's he wants to know about talent before other people do. He comes from the sports world of scouting and finding prospects. So anyway, that's all to say. I think it makes all the sense in the world that, if Tony Khan's going to have a streaming platform, he would want to bring on as many good independent companies as he could get on board.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it is going this big. I just wasn't sure what sort of the plan was for Tony when he said like we're gonna do more independent promotions. I wasn't sure what the split would be. All that stuff was above my pay grade and how it all would work. Clearly, these promotions think it's a good enough deal, a better deal than they're potentially getting with Triller or IWTV to like, hey, yeah, we're gonna trust Tony Khan here. He's not gonna screw us out of this money. Like, Tony's got way more to lose than Triller or IWTV or anything, so we're gonna ride with him on this. I hope it all continues to work out for everybody. Like, I really do, because at 1FW we have a good relationship with them and some of those guys. I know Joel has like a good relationship with C4. We had a good relationship with Produce Orange Crush. He's helped us out when it comes to JCW guests and everything. So I like a lot of these companies, and I want to see them succeed. And if this helps get them on a bigger platform or get more attention on them and the wrestlers, then I think that's good for wrestling overall.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, just to put this into perspective, I'm just looking this up online, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but according to Google, Triller TV is worth roughly $27 to $30 million. The reason I'm saying that, like, Tony Khan and their family, like, they're gonna, you know what I mean? It's like I think people get like, Tony's in like the most unique position of anyone ever to be in the position he's in with wrestling, because he has literally unlimited money and he's one of us. So it's like they put together a streaming platform. It's nothing to them because they have limited money. If they want to buy the rights to promotions, like I don't know anything about any of this behind the scenes at all, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that even if someone's happy with their position, with their company being on IWTV or Triller, it's very possible Tony's just offering them more money, just like he would any wrestler, because he has it. I don't know how much money let's just look it up. I have no idea how much money Shad Khan is valued at.
A lot.
Shad Khan's net worth. Okay. I spelt it wrong. I hit the A instead of the S. I'm searching Ahed Khan, and that's not the right.
15 billion according to Forbes.
Okay, I just found it. Sorry, you were way faster than me. So we're talking about 15 billion and just Triller, 30 million versus 15 billion. That's a peon in comparison.
Yeah, look, at some point, like, some of this stuff has to turn a profit, right? Chad's not going to sit here and be like, hey, you're losing millions of dollars every year on all of this stuff, hundreds of millions every year on all of this stuff. We got to pull the plug. But clearly he trusts Tony enough. I don't think MyAEW is losing, again, hundreds of millions. Okay, it might lose a couple million the first however many years, but yes, when you have 15 billion to spare, I don't think you're too worried about a couple of million on there. So it's got a real fighting chance with Tony's backing and the Khan's backing, and I hope it works out for everybody. I hope it is very successful. I hate to say this, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of wrestling streaming platforms just not be very successful. Look, WWE Network, we all thought this was the greatest thing ever, and it was. We didn't realize what we had at the time. It was, all right, well, Vince has millions and millions of dollars. He wasn't Shad level money, but he's doing pretty well for himself, or was doing pretty well for himself. It's fine. You can lose money on this. And then they decided, well, the better option is, instead of losing a bunch of money on this, let's just sell it off to someone else, because it's not making us as much money as we thought it was going to make us. Now, a publicly traded company, a lot different. They have shareholders to kind of tend to, and if they're not hitting certain margins and the network's part of that, they're not hitting a certain subscriber base. 1 million subscribers was always the thing, and if it wasn't quite hitting that, they just felt it was better to, we'll sell it to Peacock. And now, of course, it doesn't really live anymore because some content's on Netflix, some content's on ESPN, a lot of content's on YouTube. So it just doesn't, the network that we knew and loved does not actually exist. So we've seen plenty of like wrestling platforms fail. Triller is another one. Yes, it didn't have the backing of the cons and that kind of money. We all loved it when it first started. It's like, oh, look at all these great indie companies. You're getting all this for what, like $6.99, $5.99 a month to start with, which I'm pretty sure we're both still on.
It was like that nice little deal. $6.99 was the grandfathered price that I've got. I think it's $6.99.
And like, this is the greatest thing ever. And now all of a sudden there's like nothing on Triller but GCW shows, which is still nice, but there's really just nothing there anymore. So I hope it does work. It is a little niche, but he's done all of this with Watch ROH, which I can't imagine is doing like gangbuster numbers, and that continues to go and thrive in whatever terms that might be. But it continues to live on anyway. So hopefully it just all continues to work out for everybody. And Tony and the cons are willing to give it potentially decades before like it actually turns some type of profit.
Well, and I think it would make sense for them to put Ring of Honor on MyAEW. Like, I have no idea what kind of business Watch ROH does, but why would he even have those separate? And you also, by the way, can order AEW pay-per-views through MyAEW. I've seen that option on there.
Yes.
So I figured they do the same for Ring of Honor.
I think you can order Ring of Honor pay-per-views through MyAEW as well. The archived content and stuff, I don't fully know the deal with that. I could see there being some type of contract in place to where, hey, this has to be like on this platform. And by platform, I mean whatever the streaming service is that like host all of this stuff, because that is a thing. Tony talked about that when the platform failed a few shows ago, maybe a year and a half or so ago. He talked about like the streaming platform that it's on and how he was basically like, well, I gave it away for free on YouTube because the platform kind of died and I basically lost a lot of money on this. I could see there being some type of agreement with them there where like they can't move off of that yet, and maybe that's why we haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's possible. To be fair, like neither of us obviously know the real contracts behind this stuff. So we're just speculating as fans, like what would be the best for us ideally. So yeah, you got to imagine though, when the time comes that they would just kind of consolidate it all into one easy.
Yeah, I would think
especially if people start using MyAEW more often for like other indie shows and AEW content, it would just make sense to also have a ROH tab right there, or you maybe make that like your featured tab. You make the square to click on Ring of Honor's content bigger than everything else, because you're still trying to. Ring of Honor still is the sister company of AEW technically, even though I still think it's weird that like Bandito is like just like tagging with Brody on TV, but like he's like this unbeatable guy in Ring of Honor, and so it's weird like the two universes that live together on AEW sometimes when the Ring of Honor stuff crosses over. But that's another conversation in itself. But it is good that guys like Jordan Oliver, Alec Price, Adam Priest, guys like that, get to wrestle in Ring of Honor on that platform. And when AEW needs them, they can be plugged in AEW TV seamlessly. So, I mean, I like that. I like that it exists from that perspective, but I'd also rather see some of these guys just on AEW. But on the flip side, they have so many people signed to their roster that like I'd rather them be wrestling. I'd rather them be wrestling in Ring of Honor than just like inactive, not doing anything. So kind of you get what you get, I suppose.
All right, let's move to the other.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
TNA released Tessa Blanchard and Tommy Dreamer and Sami Callihan as they underwent creative restructuring, I think was their word for it. So, yeah, changes in TNA. Is the company dead, Jensen?
Well, we've been asking that question since like 2003 or whatever, so, as somebody who reviews their their 4 pay-per-views that they do per year, Slammiversary coming up soon, actually. Yeah, man, I feel like this whole rebrand that they've tried to do has been just really, not even talking about the releases yet, like just in general, like the whole AMC. It's just weird, and it's almost like the wrestlers are like coping in a lot of ways. Like the things I see, some of them tweeting about like how great the company actually is doing. Listen, on the flip side, like I saw that they're bringing in Amazing Red. I think that's awesome. I'm going to mark out seeing Amazing Red back in TNA. That's cool, but it sounds like Delirious is probably going to be the main booker going forward. Is that what you think as well?
He's already kind of been the main booker.
Yeah, and that's not like super promising. I'm not one of these guys who like just hates on Delirious or anything like that. It's just I don't think that TNA's product and buzz, and I think they've lost a lot of goodwill. And I know people are polarized on Tessa, but she is very talented. I'm interested to see where she winds up, like, because she's gonna have limited options. It feels like, unless WWE finally actually does just take the chance on her. It seems strange that TNA took the chance that they did on her when they did bring her back and insert her into these storylines and stuff, and she's now gone. I have no idea what they're thinking. I'm not one of these people that thinks everyone has to have their job forever either. Tommy Dreamer doesn't, have the right to like always be employed by TNA his entire life or whatever. Sami Callihan, stuff like that. They've been there for a very long time. Maybe the company needed to make some changes, but I just, it would be, they're heading into Slammiversary too. So it's like, I don't know really what to think about the company going forward, to be honest, because it's going to be like I think their TV show. And by the way, I've also, part of me keeping up with this is I try to keep up with Joel a bit as far as how he feels about the stuff, because he reviews it so often. Oh, it's funny. D'Lo Diggs literally just said, as Joel Pearl usually says, LOL TNA. It's, I see that like we had that stuff where like him and Matt Hardy, we talked about it before, but like their wrestlers are like arguing with fans and people that cover the stuff. And, on one hand, it's nice sometimes. Like when I do the TNA reviews, it's actually been a few times that Moose has reached out personally and been like, thanks for saying all the nice stuff about my match. Like sometimes some of the talent reaches out and they're actually really nice about the stuff you say. I'm also not very critical about the company. But I also don't cover it weekly like Joel does. And he has to he's being paid to give an honest opinion of how he feels about stuff. And I feel like, I just feel like the company is just in kind of like a sad state. Like they don't know what they are or what they want to be. They seem kind of directionless in a lot of ways. I'm not, I'll be reviewing Slammiversary, but I'm not interested in Nick Nemeth and Santana, because I'm not interested. Leon Slater loses the belt for no reason. Just this all this stuff. We're just what do you you're just shooting yourself in the foot over and over again, and you're not building any of your own new stars. You're relying too heavily on past WWE names and stuff. This is, I know historically speaking, they've done a lot of that throughout the history of TNA, but we're in the age right now of people that are really good, that are really young, that haven't been signed to other companies. TNA should have an entire roster of Leon Slaters from the indies. And they don't. They just keep doing the same stuff that hasn't been working, while also pissing off their only fans that they have left, and then also getting rid of people that, once again, some people don't like and some people do like, but and also the way that they've done it, I'm only seeing one side of the story, but it seemed from what I saw from Sami Callihan, he didn't really kind of appreciate the way things were communicated.
Sami Callihan was fired. I mean, I think
Yeah.
Tessa wanted her release, but they also said, hey, make a decision, us or CMLL, and she chose CMLL. Now, allegedly, it was TNA who said that. It may have been CMLL who said that. Regardless, she wanted her TNA release off of that. Tommy Dreamer says it was mutual. Okay, I don't know how much to believe off of that, but sure, let's say it was mutual. Callahan made no bones about it. He said, they called me, I thought I was getting offered head of creative job, instead they fired me. So he got fired.
Right, and that's what I saw as well as far as Callahan, And once again, I'm only seeing his side, but that would be really shitty if TNA had told him he was getting that job, or it heavily implied he was going to be getting that position, especially if they did anything which I would consider to be shady. And I'm not accusing them of doing this. I don't know enough about Carlos Silva and their management team. Honestly, I just don't think that they've done very much to gain goodwill from the wrestling fan base with a lot of the stuff they've done, especially when they pulled talent from the indies against AEW guys and stuff. The very short, small sample size of track record just has not been favorable. Now I lost my train of thought. But yeah, it's oh yeah, sorry, we're Sami Callihan. If they were telling him that he had that, if he was going to have that job, or the shady thing I was going to say is if they went to him ahead of time and said anything to him about that they were going to get rid of Tommy Dreamer, you know what I mean? In my everyday job, for instance, if my boss came up to me, or my boss's boss, and was like, hey, we're going to be firing your boss in a week. I just want you to know, but we're letting you know because you're who we have in mind for the opening, and we need this to happen quickly. So we need you in the loop on this. If something like that happened with him, that would be incredibly shitty. If he really thought he was getting that job and he was answering the phone thinking that's the job he was getting, and then he got fired instead, and that also looks terrible on TNA if it was anything like that, because now you can't trust your boss if you're really anybody there, because anything they tell you, you can't really believe, because this guy was just told something and he got fired instead for no reason, So once again, I only have his side of the story from what he's posted, but I also tend to kind of automatically side with him just because of I don't have much goodwill for the current TNA management based on the decisions they've made since taking it over.
No, that's fair. I don't want anybody to lose their job. That's never good. We've all wanted changes in TNA for however long. Dreamer kind of at the top of it because he's been there for a while. We know he's had a creative role. A lot of stuff has not been good. Now he's gone. I don't know if Road Dogg is going to be the greatest replacement in the world, which that's the rumor out there. But they're trying to shake things up. I'll give them some credit for there. I don't think Tessa is any type of value loss. She wasn't being really featured and used in a major role or anything. Callahan, I don't know. Callahan does a very good job with Wrestling Revolver. So I do think he has some value as far as a creative mind and everything. And then that's all we know of for now. They also apparently let go of their digital producer. I don't know fully what that involves, but that's still a loss regardless. Somebody's got to take that over and do something and do it better than that person. Speaking just creatively though, people wanted to change in that aspect. Dreamer is making a change there. Now whoever takes that over, whether it is someone new coming in, whether it is other people taking on more responsibilities, they still got to show it on the television show. I care about what happens on the television show, and the television show is not very good most weeks.
Well said. Do you think that they're gonna just roll with Delirious, or do you think that Road Dogg will get like a bigger role and he'll have a say in creative?
It wouldn't shock me if they bring in Road Dogg. It wouldn't shock me if they bring in someone like Bully Ray. Like, none of this stuff would really shock me. It wouldn't shock me if like Matt Hardy gets some type of more creative power behind the scenes. Obviously, Matt Hardy is very involved in his stuff. It wouldn't shock me if he gets involved in other people's stuff, because I think he's a guy that they trust and they look at when it comes to that. So none of that would surprise me. I don't know if these are the answers, because it's just so much of like, Road Dogg, he's been around forever. Matt Hardy been around forever. Bully Ray been around. Like, I would like some new, fresh voices in there. I said this earlier today on In the Weeds. I'll repeat it here, though. That can sometimes be difficult, because as much as, let's say, for example, the Deadlock guys, who got a lot of credit for what they did with DPW, and everybody loved DPW, including all of the wrestlers and everything, it's a different ball game working, oh, we're going to run an indie show every month or every other week, compared to, oh, now we got to run a television show every week. And I know TNA does bulk tapings, but you're looking at it from a week-to-week perspective, and you got these different egos involved who have been there for a while, and it's not just, I'm going to come in and wrestle my indie match, and it's going to be, really fun, and I'm going to get my 15 minutes or however long, and I can go out there and do all of this, and it's going to be great. Now it's like, well, you only get 3 minutes, and we got to do a DQ to protect the story, or you only get 30 seconds for this segment to continue to enhance whatever we're trying to do, or we need this person to look better for this, but don't worry, it'll pay off in the end. It's just a different ball game than running your kind of weekly or monthly indie show. And that's why, as much as I think like the DPW guys would be great and they would be fresh voices, I don't know how much that would actually help if it is just continued of, well, I don't want to say any names. Wrestler X says, yeah, I'm not doing this job. I'm not doing this. Then it doesn't matter what great idea you have. If Wrestler X is going to be like, nope, effectively that doesn't work for me, brother. And they go to someone higher up and say, hey, this is actually like, we need to do this instead. And the person higher up is like, okay, yeah, let's just do that. But that's why it's so many of the same people constantly, because Road Dogg has been there. He's worked with a lot of these people. Road Dogg he's worked WrestleManias. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. Bully Ray has worked for these promotions. He's worked WrestleManias. He knows what he's doing. It's just different.
Maybe you just gotta pull a Tony Khan here, like how he hired Will Washington, and TNA's just gotta finally just hire Joel. Maybe Joel's the answer. Maybe Joel just needs to put his money where his mouth is. Like, I
don't think Joel would do it. I've partially joking said I want the pencil. Like, let me do this. I'd run into the same problems though. Of I'd try to do certain things, and Wrestler X would probably say, no, who the fuck are you? We're not listening to some internet dork with a podcast. And what am I supposed to do about that? So it's difficult, right? It can be difficult on this, but that's why they go with so many of the same people. Now, I do think, like, I don't know how the creative structure works, right? Like, Delirious seems to be at the top. Dreamer seemed to be right alongside him. And now maybe Road Dogg comes in, is right below him, right along. Do they have people even underneath that? Obviously, there are producers, like Lance Storm is a producer, so you can like talk to Lance. Do they have like a writing team, writing structure, like WWE does? I don't know. I just don't know how the structure works there.
Neither do I. But yeah, I mean, it would be intimidating, obviously, to try to like book shows without. See, that's the thing. Another thing about Tony Khan that, I think he's had to learn on the fly, and he's still learning. And unfortunately, his inexperience mixed in with like CM, like we deal with like a CM Punk, right? Like you're a lifelong fan of the guy. You don't have that much management experience running a wrestling show. This guy's telling you he wants to do things a certain way. You want to do it a certain way, but like ultimately you're probably just going to back down. You're just like, okay, well, just do your thing then.
We're also talking about two different roles. Tony Khan is, yes, he's the creative behind a lot of this, but I mean, even he says there are other people in the room that he talks to. He is the final decision, certainly, but he's also the president of the company, and he's the one controlling all the money and stuff. Delirious is not that. Delirious is just, I'm going to do my creative. And the role that Road Dogg would be the same thing. Tony is automatically going to command a little bit more respect and have a little bit more say, because it's like, well, I'm the one paying everybody for this. And yeah, Tony has had to learn on the job. So it is similar in that sense, but it's also different because, like, again, for example, I'm just going to use myself. If I go in there, I'm not writing any paycheck. Yeah, why is anybody going to listen to me on this? Tony's writing the paycheck. So sure, CM Punk is like, well, I'm out of here. I'm not doing any of this stuff. CM Punk was the outlier. Everyone else was, okay, cool. I'm okay with this. Hey, maybe we can talk about this and let's do this, because ultimately Tony writes the paychecks.
Yeah, that's fair. But even in like Tony's situation, this would be really interesting to one day talk to Will Washington about, because it would be really interesting to be like in his shoes, because he came in to the role that he has in AEW essentially as a fan, a longtime podcaster, but working directly with Tony. So I wonder what that was like, especially when he first started having to tell wrestlers stuff. Like I wonder how that went, because obviously he's been there for years now, and so it's like it's been super cool seeing it from like the outside. But it's kind of what we're describing, right? Like that'd be like me in a position like that where it's like, okay, nobody really maybe knows me or respects me. I'm just a wrestling fan. The boss of the company is asking me to tell this guy to do something. Let's see how this goes. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of pressure. So anyway, we actually kind of know someone who's kind of been in those shoes before, but obviously I would never really want to ask him about it like while he's in the job, but maybe like years from now, maybe we can find out what that was like.
All right. Final topic of the night, UFC Freedom 250. It's a show that happened. It was a great show. Like, all the fights were fantastic. It was, I thought, a little embarrassing at some points of like, this stuff is really happening in front of the White House. Really, this is what we have come to as a country. But overall, if you just look at the fights and the television, the spectacle of it, it's tough to say that it was like bad, because it wasn't. All the fights were great. It was a spectacle. The production was great. There were also some embarrassing moments.
I agree. There was some embarrassing stuff, but the fact that the show went as well as it did is almost a miracle. Like, the weather was so bad, and they were talking about having to postpone the show at one point they were talking about not starting it until like 10:30 p.m. But they really only had a little bit of a delay and were able to start pretty close to on time. And then they got super lucky with the bugs didn't wind up being a problem outside. The temperature while the fighters were fighting, it was like 70 degrees, which is similar to like an AC arena, like the conditions like couldn't have been better. Because that's what I was most concerned about, was them going out there and it being like 100 degrees outside and they're like swallowing mosquitoes while they're slipping over each other in heat exhaustion. Like, I didn't want to see any of that. And that's not what we got at all. I mean, it was definitely a spectacle. I thought it was pretty cool how they had it set up where the ellipse or whatever they called it, like outside of the White House, had like 80,000 people watching the show on giant screens, but they could still see the White House in like the background. So so they still were able to pull together, like an arena or stadium sized amount of fans to watch it. And Joe Rogan was saying when the show was happening live, because you had the people who were actually there that were invited to be there on the actual White House lawn. So when something big would happen, you'd hear the crowd that was there, and then like a couple seconds later, you'd hear the bigger crowd cheering that was watching it on the monitors and stuff. So, this is the type of event that I don't know if they'll ever do something like this again. Like, I think Trump's the only president who ever will do this, but it's just a matter of like if he tries to get another one of these in before he's out of office, which I doubt. So for history's sake, it's pretty wild, especially for, when me and you were growing up and this sport was banned from television and everyone was calling it human cockfighting, and like, it was a miracle the show got onto Fox Sports Net for like that Tito Ortiz UFC 37.5 or whatever, and like then the Ultimate Fighter and the things that happened. But at one point, this was a sport that literally was like, it was saved by the Fertitas money at the end of the day. But, and Trump does have a history of helping out the UFC, so there does tie in together there. He used to let them use his venues and stuff when nobody else would and stuff. So, it's one of these things where like, I completely understand. I understand the reasons why people didn't like the show or why people didn't want to see the show happen, and people don't want to see their tax dollars going to this. And so I totally understand. I know there's a lot of people who want no matter what Donald Trump does, it's an immediate, I want nothing to do with it. I completely get that. But as a UFC fan, especially as a fan of a guy like Justin Gaethje, like this was pretty damn incredible. And the fact that they pulled this off and the fights all delivered, and it was the only card in UFC history since the promotion started that every fight ended in a knockout, because even the Topuria is technically a technical knockout, him not leaving the stool. So like, and we even talked about that in our predictions, how a lot of the fights seemed kind of one-sided, and that was by design. So you got results like this where you could have a show where you had 7 knockouts. So, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I wish it wasn't on a Sunday, because I stayed up so late watching it. It had to be up early to work on Monday morning. But that's really my only critique, And I saw there was a lot of people getting shit for even attending the event. And I want to put this out there too. Like, not everyone who attended that event even likes Donald Trump or agrees with any of his policies. Like, wow. I'm just saying, like, there were a lot of people that were invited to that. Like, I know there were certain, I won't name names, but they're out there publicly that have said like, they really didn't want to go and support it, but they were like, when am I ever going to get invited to an event like this ever in my lifetime? Like, this is just a rare, once in a million type thing. Like, I have to go. Like, that's how I think a lot of people did feel about it. Like, they showed some people in the crowd, and then like online you look and they're all like, what the fuck? You are against him, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I get that, but like, fucking White House UFC, when are you ever going to get to go to this ever?
I mean, I agree with you. I also think most of the people they showed were.
Yes, most of them were, but I'm just saying, I did see people that were shown that like got hate online for being there that then defended themselves, and I understand their perspective. Like, it's, because even there's athletes, and there's plenty of athletes that like get invited to the White House after winning a championship or something and don't go. But there are plenty that do go that don't agree with what's going on right now. But it's like they grew up, and it was like, what are the chances they thought in their entire lifetime they were ever going to get invited to the White House in their life? It's just it's just something that doesn't happen. So anyway, that all said, the actual fights totally delivered. The main stuff that I would highlight would be, Josh Hokett went to town on Derek Lewis. He wasn't ready for that at all. So, that was, but then he shoots himself in the foot saying something idiotic on the microphone. Go figure. They should not have handed him the microphone like after that. But anyway, he's just going to keep winning fights, but ultimately he's going to be his own downfall because he can't keep his mouth shut. Sean O'Malley looked great out there. Big win on a big stage for him. Ciryl Gane beating Alex Pereira was very impressive, but he did land a lot of illegal shots. I do think that he would have won the fight regardless, but I went back and I watched some videos on this as well, and Gane very clearly landed at least 7 for sure back of the head, back of the neck, illegal blows in these ending sequences when he had now granted he hurt Pereira to put him down, but then he landed a lot of illegal shots, and then when Pereira got back up he knocked him out. But once again, he might have just knocked him out anyways. But I understand why Alex Pereira is upset, because since the fight he's been doing his rounds in the media basically saying, I want a rematch. I got hit in the back of the head a whole bunch of times. And when you watch the replay, he did. And another reason why I sympathize a little more with him is because Herb Dean was the referee, and Herb Dean's fucking terrible. That guy is so bad at refereeing mixed martial arts. It's not even – he's such a fucking joke. I hate Herb Dean. That guy has cost me so much money because of his dumb decision-making in the octagon. By the way, who was the – I can't remember who the ref was for the main event. Was that Herb also?
No, that was not Herb Dean. I know.
Was it Jason Herzog?
I think it was Herzog, yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but there was also controversy there because the doctor 1,000,000% stopped the fight after the third round. And was after the third round or after the second?
It was after the third.
Because after the fourth is when he didn't come out for the fifth. The doctor for sure stopped that fight, and Deporia was just like, no, I'm fine. And they just like took his word for it and just like let it. But he also had like multiple minutes to recover in between rounds that he shouldn't have had while they were looking at him. And there was a dude that I saw on Twitter posted his slip. There was a guy out there. I'm not going to say his name. Y'all can find it out there if you want to. But I'm going to put it out there just so people know why decisions like this matter, okay? There was a dude out there who put down a $5 bet on a parlay for the UFC White House card. And he correctly picked every winner, round, and method for the whole show. And he had Gaethje winning third round TKO in the main event, which would have been like the doctor, if they would have just listened to the doctor, which they've done literally every other fight in history of the UFC. If the doctor says it's over, they end the fight. This dude would have won $61,000 and didn't win anything because they didn't listen to the doctor. That's criminal. So UFC referees 1,000,000,000% need to be looked into very, very seriously. I've been saying that for a while, especially guys like Jason Herzog and Herb Dean. They're terrible at their jobs and have been for a while. But the actual fight itself, good for Justin Gaethje, man. Ilia Topuria was kind of piecing him up at the beginning of the fight, and Gaethje is just unbelievably durable and brought the fight back to him and won that fight fair and square. Did it in the White House. America overcomes at the end. It was one of these shows where when they put the card together, I was a little confused because I figured that they would just like give all the Americans like easy layups at the White House, you know. So when they booked Topuria versus Gaethje, I was like, man, they're kind of setting this up for America to get knocked out at the end of this show. Like, do they really? I don't know if that's what they're really trying to do, but that's what it's looking like. It's probably going to happen. Why would you put Topuria in there against your guy in the main event? And Gaethje winds up winning, you know. And he hasn't announced if he's going to retire for sure or not, but you can't really get any bigger than that. I mean, he was a massive underdog. You made him literally quit on his stool in between rounds. White House, double belts, you know. And for him, he's obviously like I'm not speaking for myself. I'm speaking for him. Him shaking hands with Trump, meeting the family, like that's all. Like for Gaethje, this was the biggest thing that's probably ever happened in his life and ever will. So I just think that like you go off into the sunset if you're Justin Gaethje, unless the UFC just offers you so much money now coming off of that fight that you just can't turn down.
I imagine he will fight the Max and Connor winner, and that's going to be a huge fight. And I think that would be tough for him to turn down because you get the rematch against Max, who knocked you out with 1 second left in that fight, which was an awesome fight. Yeah. Or you get the fight against Connor, which is the biggest possible fight you can get, and obviously Connor would be coming off the victory over Max. I think that would be the next match for Gaethje, and yeah, he'd be hard pressed to turn that down. And then, depending on what happens there, he might decide, okay, I'm going to retire after that one. But Max was the last guy to beat him. Max knocked him out with 1 second left there. You get Connor. That's a tough one to turn down. I was super impressed with Gaethje. It looked like Topuria had him completely finished in like the second with those body shots. I was shocked he survived those. I think Topuria kind of made a mistake going for like a submission. He probably should have just like kept pounding on him when he had like top control and everything. But instead he went for the submission, and that kind of cost him. But credit to Gaethje for like surviving that, coming back, continuing to press forward. That dude hits so hard. Like, he throws just absolute bombs. And I mean, you said like Topuria was landing his shots, but Gaethje never looks like he's like in a fight. And the dude who fights Gaethje looks like they've just been hit in the face with bricks the entire time. But just a hell of a performance by Gaethje. Yeah, I thought Topuria was gonna not cruise, but Gaethje was gonna kind of fade as things went along. Topuria was gonna be too technical for him, and Gaethje was just like, "No, we're gonna turn this into a brawl," and that's exactly what he did. And up and down the card, it was a great card. Pereira didn't look like himself at heavyweight. Probably shouldn't try that again, or maybe take an easier fight to kind of get your bearings about you at heavyweight. He just looks so much slower than you would expect him to, considering he's coming up from middleweight. But that's a lot of weight to put on over the course of the years that he's put that on, and he just didn't handle it very well. O'Malley winning wasn't a big shock. Marcio Rufi against Michael Chandler, that dude's a beast. I assume Jensen's headphones gave out, as they always do around this time, because they just completely die. But that dude is an absolute monster. I don't think he'll be fighting Gaethje next, because I don't think he quite has the name there. But I wanna see him against another kind of top guy, because I think Chandler is definitely on like the tail end. I mean, Chandler's pretty washed at this point, so I would like to see Hoofy against another top lightweight, and then maybe if he wins that, he fights for the title. Bo Nickel looked great that was a mismatch, and Diego Lopez and Steve Garcia, that was a really great fight. Now Lopez, with the featherweight title, and Volkanovski no longer having Volkanovski still has the title. Sorry, the fact that Volkanovski still has the title is kind of a tough spot for Lopez, because he might be the second best featherweight, but he's already lost to Volkanovski twice. So where are you going if you're Lopez?
I missed part of that, getting my headphones set back in. But
I was praising. I was praising Hoofy and Sean O'Malley when you were getting your headphones.
Well, yeah, I heard that at the end there with Lopez too. I mean, he's in no man's land. I mean,
he's in Rich Franklin territory.
Yeah,
that's what I like to call it.
Yeah, he's talented, and that was a big win at the White House in front of a lot of fans. Because that's another thing we didn't bring up, is like the amount of people that watched this show. This was probably the most watched UFC event ever.
Yeah, it was. Paramount said 17 million total. That's across. That was 17 million people watched at least 1 second of the show, and it averaged 8.2 million viewers. So take those numbers with what you will.
Nice. So Lopez, big win on a huge stage in front of the most fans he's going to have watching him. But that's good for him. But yeah, he's, he lost that first title opportunity to Volkanovski, won a fight, and then got a title shot again. And he really just shouldn't have. That was a situation, if I remember correctly, where maybe they needed a title fight for that card because UFC is just they're what's the right term? They have to I'm trying to think of the right word to say it without they have their pay-per-view schedule and they need to have a certain amount of title fights. So sometimes some matchups will happen that don't necessarily make sense because they have to have a title fight. So they had no title fights. They needed to get Volkanovski on the card. Volkanovski had a title.
That show was also in Australia, and so they wanted Volkanovski on it, and I think Lopez just made sense as the guy, considering he came off a victory. There were no other kind of top featherweights, I assume, ready for that one. So it's let's run back the Diego Lopez fight, and so that's what they did. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily. I'm with you. On these numbered shows, they like to have a title fight on all of them, or obviously if you have Conor, then you have Conor. But even they'll put it's for the BMF title, which isn't a real title, but they'll just say it's a title to make it seem like it's a bigger deal than it actually is. But certainly with that fight being in Australia, they wanted Volkanovski for that fight.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And with Mauricio Rufy, him just destroying Michael Chandler, Michael Chandler, just the worst situation you could possibly be in, which also ties together with what I do agree that Gaethje, if they wind up going the route, because the wild card here is Arman Tsarukyan, who has deserved a title shot for a little while now and still deserves a title shot, but he's not nearly as big of a name as someone like Conor McGregor or Max Holloway, and his fighting style is the opposite of most of these guys. He's going to go in there and try to grind guys out and try to stop them still, but different type of style versus the primarily stand-up fighters that we're kind of talking about right now at the top of the division. But the reason I say that all is because I think a good matchup potentially could be Rufy versus Tsarukyan if they're not going to do Tsarukyan for a title. Because I'll put it this way. I don't think that if they want Justin Gaethje to fight, I think he would probably, and this isn't because he's ducking anybody, but I think he would rather just retire than have to fight Tsarukyan versus if they're going to offer him Max or Conor. Max, I think he would want to do to get that win back after losing with 1 second left. So there's incentive there for him to want to take that fight. The Conor fight is a whole other list of incentives. That's an immediate yes, no brainer because he'll make more money doing that fight than most of his fights combined. I mean, that would be when you're fighting Conor McGregor, you're in a completely different pay bracket than anything else. So, and that's why it's so pathetic what happened with Michael Chandler. He thought he was in that and waited that out for years and then ultimately wound up getting destroyed by Rufy, who most people don't know. Well, and yeah, all of his fights. Really, he's only done well against Tony Ferguson recently, who was on the worst. He basically pulled the BJ Penn, where Tony Ferguson went from best guy in the division to 10-fight losing streak. And Michael Chandler was just one of the guys that knocked him out cold on his way down. But I'm with you. I think, I could see Gaethje sticking around for a Max rematch, kind of for history's sake. And especially for a Conor fight. But I mean, lightweight's still super interesting. And this is also another reason why you can't do MMA math. It just doesn't work because guys like Gaethje, Gaethje loses to Holloway. Gaethje, I think, had maybe lost to Oliveira before. I know Oliveira beat
Oliveira beat him.
Yeah, you have but Oliveira also beat Chandler and all this stuff. But Gaethje's losing to most of these guys, but then but he always stayed competitive with these guys too. He's never gone out there and just gotten his ass kicked. Every Justin Gaethje fight he's lost has been a war where he stayed in it. So it's I'll also, this is the last thing I'll say about it, just because I'll never forget this. I remember years ago, back when Justin Gaethje was still in the World Series of Fighting, back before it even became PFL. And I remember Gaethje was the WSOF champion. He was the man there for a while. He's like their top guy. And I remember he was doing interviews, and it had to have been with Ariel Helwani. And I remember him talking about it. He was still in WSOF, and he was saying, like, Helwani was basically like, you know, and I apologize if I'm not exactly accurate on this, because I haven't watched this or heard this interview in probably 10 years, but or maybe around 10, whenever around the time WSOF, he was still the WSOF champion, however long ago that was. They were talking about like how his fighting style is unsustainable because, and he even knew it. He was like, the way that I fight, you know, I could only do this for a handful of more years because I go out there, I go balls to the wall. I'm trying to be the most entertaining fighter. I'm trying to finish people. I'm trying to make as much money as I possibly can. And his plan was just like make as much money as he could while he could with that style. And he wanted to like go become a veterinarian. Like he wanted to like open like an animal clinic and stuff. Like that's like what his real passion was. And so that was his motivation when I watched that interview. I'll never forget that because he's like the most violent fighter in MMA history now, pretty much. And he really just wanted to do this so he could like comfortably have like a living helping animals. I mean, I think that's pretty cool. And the fact that he did it his way, thinking it was going to be such a short-term thing, and one thing just leads to another. Like he winds up in the PFL. I think he was in the PFL after it moved, but not long after. I think so. Regardless, like it was around that time he wound up in the UFC, and he started out like I think he even lost his first UFC fight, if I remember.
No, he didn't.
Who did he
beat Michael Johnson in his first UFC fight.
Do you know what his second UFC fight is?
That was Alvarez. He did lose to Alvarez.
Okay, that's the one I was thinking of. Because Alvarez was the champion in like Bellator and stuff. So that was almost like a super fight between champions from outside the UFC. Alvarez also eventually became the UFC lightweight champion. But nonetheless, Gaethje stuck to his guns and he stuck to his style. Because the other thing people don't realize about Justin Gaethje is he was like a really good college wrestler and stuff. Like he has a wrestling background. He could easily be doing more of that. Like if he didn't want to just stand there and get hit in the head hundreds of times, he could probably double like a lot of these guys and go to the ground and not take nearly as much damage. But that's not as exciting. And the reason he's getting the opportunities he's gotten, even though he's had a lot of big losses and big moments, you know, because of his style and sticking with it and the fans being behind him and him staying competitive even when he was losing, that's how he got the shot that he got. And not a lot of people expected him to beat Topuria. He was, like, as I said, a huge underdog. And I mean, you can't take anything away from him. That was cool. And that was the perfect ending to a show at the White House. Like that guy wins, American flag, everything, like USA, you know, and that's just like, all right. And if we never see an event ever like that ever again, we got one that pretty much went off perfectly somehow. And I feel like don't even test fate. Like, don't do this again, because if you do it again, I guarantee you it thunderstorms, it snows, it's like something crazy happens. Like y'all somehow got away with this working out perfectly. And you got all finishes and it was a big success. So, you know, as a UFC fan, I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. Yes, Jeremy, I'll give you yours. There was some goofy stuff about it. The band was kind of lame and stuff. There was certain stuff, right? But I think even for you, who I know you weren't looking forward to this that much coming into the show, and you know,
no, I was looking forward to the fights, and
yeah, but I know that you're not. I know that you're more
pro Trump.
Yeah, right. And neither am I. I'm just saying, like, I'm just way more about like, you know, I'm still cool with like celebrating America, but I understand that there's problems with America. You know what I mean? I understand both sides of it.
I would like to celebrate America without the racism and bigotry and all the higher prices and deporting, you know, friends and family and bombing countries that have friends and family and things like that. I'll gladly
Yes, I
celebrate
understand.
America in more traditional ways than those ways.
Yes, and I'm obviously I completely understand what you're. I get it. I totally get it. I just thought it was nice to be able to just like. I thought at the end of the day I was just kind of relieved that the show actually went off like the way that it did, and it was a good show. But But also, to be fair, I feel the same way when the 4th of July rolls around and Joey Chestnut puts down 70 plus hot dogs. You know what I mean? Like, that's me being patriotic for America. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm
the same
cool
kind
with
of feeling.
celebrating. Yeah, I'm cool with celebrating in that way. The World Cup is on. I like watching the World Cup. I'm for celebrating America with the World Cup. This was a direct tie to Trump. And so I had less American pride for this than I guess others did.
Yeah, which is totally fair. So I'm glad that you enjoyed the show, though. Like, I'm glad that as like a fight fan, like that you still enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll never talk about something like that ever again.
I'm never gonna be, down if the fights are good. Great, the fights are good. The spectacle, WWE and UFC do great spectacles. I still don't have to like that. It is kind of embarrassing that we're holding this stuff in the White House and in front of the White House, and they're walking through the White House, and like, I don't even think the White House is that big of a deal. I thought it was more funny than anything of like, yeah, let's use the Lincoln Room, and here's where fighters are just grappling and rolling around and stuff. And this is where I'm just like, this is supposed to be like, a big landmark in US, and we're just treating it like a UFC locker room. That's kind of embarrassing.
No,
honestly.
It's sure. No, I completely understand. I agree with you. And there's a lot of people, like I said, even just from a perspective of like, why is our tax money going to this? Like, I get it. Like, I totally get it. But there's also nothing I can do to stop it. So it's just kind of like, all right, well, Gaethje got the win for America. Cool. USA.
All right,
I had the same feeling when Jack Hughes hit that goal. You know what I mean? It's just like, all right, we got one. But I know even that, you were like, yeah, you didn't really care that much. I was like, I don't even watch hockey. And I was like, yeah, this guy rules. Go America.
That's a little bit different because I know the politics of a lot of those players, and I don't agree with them.
They were super stoked to go to the White House.
Yeah, they were very super stoked to go to the White House.
Right.
But yeah, and Team Canada had 3 players who play for my favorite hockey team. This is why even like when Team USA basketball wins, I'm like, all right, like that's cool, but I kind of want Team Canada to do well because they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, so I'm kind of rooting for them a little bit more. Although I at least do agree with the American politics of Steph Curry and LeBron James, so I could be excited for them doing well. But I have way more pride in my sports teams than I do like the American sports teams. But because I don't have a soccer team that I root for, I am just kind of rooting for Team America. Like, all right, I don't have like, I'm not attached to an MLS team or Premier League team to where I'm like, oh, I really want to see this player do well. Yeah, I'll root for America. That's completely fine. But if you ask me to choose between national pride or team pride, and it's the same sport where I have a team, I'm gonna go team pride every time.
Oh no, I'm the same way. Like if there was like a Team USA like NFL team for like against the world or whatever, like it'd be cool for them to win. But even obviously like US would be heavily expected to win in that sport specifically. But the point being, I wouldn't care about that nearly as much as the Vikings winning the Super Bowl. Like that would be so. I'm with you. And honestly, man, I know this goes beyond wrestling and everything, and we're about to wrap the show up. I just for whatever it's worth, maybe this is bad to be almost like having like ignorant bliss or whatever. I liked it so much better in like the 90s and like pre-social media, especially pre-COVID, when I didn't know what anyone's politics were either way. You know what I mean? And I could just like enjoy entertainment and not know about the person behind what I was watching as much. Like obviously there's like some giant, like terrible human beings that like, we're not going to name names and stuff, but like there's certain people where like you can't separate the work from the art and stuff. And I totally get that. But in a lot of instances, it's just like, I don't know. I kind of just liked it a lot better before I even knew people's political views, and I could just like enjoy their art, you know, without even thinking about it. So that's just kind of where I try to live for the most part, even today. Like I try to stay out of it the most that I can. A lot of it's just unavoidable. And I think there's a lot of things about this country that could be a lot better. And, you know, but I also just, I wish it wasn't like, in a lot of ways, I think a lot of people look down on celebrating America. And I think there's also a lot of great things about America. So it's like, you know, I get it. But hey, it is what it is. At the end of the day, Justin Gaethje won at the end of the White House show. So he got the W. Good for him.
All right, Jensen. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Twitter or X, Fight Talk _. That's pretty much it. I'll keep y'all updated on. I've got like some potential job opportunities with my company that I'm kind of, you know, in the running for. So wish me luck, everybody, as far as that goes. And also wish me luck on my gambling. I had a good night out there. Actually, last night I had a pretty good night. So let's hope the baseball gods continue to be good to me. And that's pretty much it, man. I'm glad that he set a date for the 24-hour stream so I can try to actually like plan to be. Obviously, I'll be here for our show like always, but I'm glad you actually set a date for that. It was for a good cause. That's the NAMI is the mental health foundation, correct? Yeah. So yeah, I know that's something that's near to you. I'll make sure to spread the word best I can for that.
Appreciate it, Jensen. Appreciate you as always. I'll be back tomorrow, myself and Joel. He's going to force me to talk about TNA. That's very unfortunate. I don't know what else we're going to talk about, but we will figure it out. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Appreciate everyone hanging out. We'll be back next week, myself and Jensen, talking all the things in wrestling. Until then, goodbye.